Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, I'm GC Smith, and welcome to Day 8 of the official Eldritch Moon spoiler season. We have some amazing cards to take a look at today, so let's start it off with Chaos Reveler. 6 red for a horror devil creature with a 3 power and 4 toughness. Chaos Reveler costs 1 less mana for each instant or sorcery card in your graveyard, and it has prowess. And it also has, when Chaos Reveler enters the battlefield, discard your hand, then draw 3 cards. This is an absolutely amazing card in blue-red tempo decks, because not only are those cards going to have a lot of instants and sorceries in their graveyard, but this card just refills your hand. In fact, this card might even be modern playable. I mean, seriously, 2 red mana to draw 3 cards in modern is insane for a creature that's also got prowess. This is absolutely amazing, and I would be happily brewing Blue-Red Delver in Modern right now with this card. It's such a good card for that deck. Yeah, it's just insane, really, how good this card is. Will it do anything in Standard? I don't know. I think it's a little slow in Standard. We don't have the 1-drop instants and sorceries to really support this as a good tempo deck. It's competing against a lot of really good creatures by the time you get this out. It could see play in some Grixis control decks, maybe, as a win con that also refills your hand, assuming you get low enough in mana, or maybe in a red-blue tempo deck, like something maybe like red-blue Sphinx's Tutelage, I don't know. But no, this is definitely going to see some modern play. I'd be surprised if it didn't at all whatsoever. Next up, we have Campaign of Vengeance. 3 white and a black for a uncommon enchantment with whenever a creature you control attacks, the defending player loses 1 life and you gain 1 life. This will be absolutely amazing in Limited, but will do nothing outside of that. We've had similar cards like Brutal Horde Chief that did literally nothing in Standard, and I don't expect Campaign of Vengeance to do anything different. Great in Limited as a way to push through with a token strategy, but beyond that, it's kind of meh. Next up we have Nahiri's Raft, 2 and a red for a sorcery at Mythic Rare with, as an additional cost to cast Nahiri's Raft, discard X cards. Nahiri's Raft deals damage equal to the total converted mana cost of the discarded cards to each of up to X target creatures and or planeswalkers. This is a very interesting card. Red decks traditionally have a problem with planeswalkers, as do the control decks at the moment. I mean, yeah, sure, you have access to Ruinous Path, but it's not quite the same thing. Although this is a very similar card, I guess. This card's interesting as well because it provides red decks with a cheap sweeper that allows you to use really small creatures to kill really big creatures. But you do have to discard a lot of cards to do this, and it's really not card advantage whatsoever. And that's the one big downside of this card. Sweepers are generally used to not only reclaim the board, but to count as pseudo card advantage, since you're getting an X for 1. You know, you're using 1 card to kill X number of their creatures, and this is always going to be negative card advantage, since not only do you have to cast this Wrath, you have to discard a stupid amount of cards. Now, it's not so bad in a format with Madness, but I really don't see why this is a Mythic Rare. For one thing, if you do it on turn 3, well, you're losing a lot of cards. And if you do it any later in the game, well, again, I don't know, it's a very weird situation. I don't know if this will end up seeing any play whatsoever. There are some decks where it could, but I just don't see it seeing much play. Next up, we actually have what I believe is the most interesting card of the day, and that is Spell Queller. 1 white and a blue for a 2/3 spirit creature at rare with flash and flying. And when Spell Queller enters the battlefield, exile target spell with a converted mana cost 4 or less. And when Spell Queller leaves the battlefield, the exile card's owner may cast that spell without paying its mana cost. What's interesting is this goes back to the old templating, allowing you to flicker this and counter spells indefinitely. This is absolutely insane with a lot of the spirit synergy of the 1-drop flicker abilities, which, while I guess you're effectively just turning that 1-drop flicker spell into a counter spell, that's pretty powerful, especially when this is already on the field. Actually, no, it's not as powerful when it's already on the field. You want to have the ability of the first thing on the stack, but it also combines really well with Eldrazi Displacer, which again I think is really cool. I think a lot of people aren't going to notice that, and that's just amazing. Another thing I really like about this card is this is effectively a Oblivion Ring for spells. This hits everything of CMC4 or less other than land, and it's absolutely amazing for doing so. Your first thought, obviously, to look at this as a counterspell, and it's really not. It's just an Oblivion Ring at instant speed for spells. So it's a reactive Oblivion Ring rather than a proactive one. But it's attached to a body, so I guess that makes it better. I don't know. This card should see some play in Standard. It's 3 mana in Bank Company colours, which I guess is good. But I also imagine seeing this play in a blue-white tempo flicker deck, because it works really well when it flickers. Absolutely love it. Next up we have Dark Salvation. XX black for a sorcery with target player puts X 2/2 black zombie creature tokens onto the battlefield. Then up to one target creature gets -1/-1 until the end of turn for each zombie that player controls. This is really interesting, as against zombies, where I guess this is arguably the best, it's a single black mana to kill one of their biggest creatures because they're going to have a lot of tokens. However, you could also use it the other way around with the zombie deck. Pay whatever mana it is to give target creature -X and get zombies, and then you give it -X equal to the number of zombies you control, which is actually very good as well. It's a sorcery speed removal spell that gives you zombies and uses zombies you already have. I'm not certain how playable this is. It really depends on how playable the zombie deck is and how many zombies you can get out very quickly. Maybe not that playable. Probably are better removal spells. In fact, most of the other removal spells in the format are probably better. But still, it's a very interesting card and definitely Commander playable in some ways. And finally, we come to my favourite card of the day. It's not most interesting, but it's absolutely amazing for control strategy, and that is Fortune's Favour. 3 and a blue for an instant at uncommon with target opponent looks at the top 4 cards of your library and separates them into a face-down pile and a face-up pile. Put one pile into your hand and the other into your graveyard. Now, when I first saw this card, I misread it as they put both piles face down and you guess which one's good, which is very interesting because in that situation, do they go 2 and 2 and then hope you pick the wrong pile? But this power card is even more powerful because one pile's face up. You get to see what's in the face up pile, and that really, really helps you compared to helping your opponent. There's one pile, you get to know what it is, and your opponent has to think about what pile they show you. This is no fact or fiction. We're never going to get that at 4 mana in Standard, but this is probably almost as powerful, because do they put 3 cards face down or 1 card face up, or do they put the 3 cards face up and 1 card face down, or do they give you 1 face up 2 card pile and 1 face down 2 card pile? This is going to be interesting, because do they do other things like, I don't know, give you a face-up pile with 3 cards, including a Planeswalker, and a face-one down card, and then you're looking for a Raft, so you assume the face-down card's a Wrath, and you pick it and it's a basic land. There's so much bluffing and counter-bluffing that can be done with Fortune's Favour. It's interesting, although normally the usually correct pile would be to go for the face-up one, assuming it has more cards. Unless the face-down card pile has more cards, in which case that would be the correct one to go for. This is so much more powerful than some of the other cards we have of similar effect in Standard, such as the blue X 1 and X. So blue and X for an instant does X plus 2 cards, or the other versions we've had like Steam Augury, since this one actually you choose which pile you get, which is so much more powerful than them choosing. Sure, they have to make the choice of piling them and they get to reveal what information you see and you don't, but it's still a much more powerful effect for you. I absolutely love this card. It's definitely going to see play in Standard. Such a powerful card draw spell for blue again. It's so nice to see them get something like that. So yeah, that's all the spoilers for today. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow.